Hey guys, so it's been a while. I got rid of the Christmas tree in the background and I replaced it with a bookshelf. On the bookshelf is We Who Wrestle with God by Jordan Peterson. We're going to be covering chapter 3 today, and this was a big chapter. We're actually a third of the way through the book. And as usual, we're going to be playing some of the clips of Jordan Peterson's sort of ideas, tying them into the book. This is a good starting point for us to understand the story that we're going to be examining today, and that's the story of Cain and Abel. So take a look at this clip of a debate between Dr. Jordan Peterson and Richard Dawkins that can be found on Jordan Peterson's YouTube channel.
At one time asking you if you had read Mircea Eliade, especially The Sacred and the Profane, but he also has a 3-book series called A History of Religious Ideas, and I really like A History of Religious Ideas. It's a great book, and one of the things it does is analyze a particular widespread religious motif, which is the battle between the gods in heaven. You see this idea in many, many cultures, and each god is the expression of a mode of perception or a mode of being. And what you see happening in a multitude of cultures is that there are many, many ways of seeing the world and acting in it that are metamorphized into something divine. And as cultures mingle and mix, their gods compete in the space of the imagination, and something like a hierarchy forms. That's the emergence of something like monotheism. And the associate...
So we've been talking...
Okay, and he did touch on a lot there, and so we're going to apply it to our text. We're talking about the story of Cain and Abel in We Who Wrestle with God, Perceptions of the Divine. And once again, Jordan Peterson kind of treats biblical literature as a meaningful story. Not to say it's fiction, not to say he doesn't believe it, but he believes that there are archetypes in the story that apply universally. And so Jordan Peterson would say something to the effect of, I don't know if the people we're covering, Cain and Abel, existed. It doesn't matter if they existed, because in a way they exist inside of all of us. So when he says that these religious ideas or these archetypes manifest themselves in history as, for example, fights between gods, that is a sort of idea that he's going to pursue in this. And one quote that he has that I liked from the book and I'm reading from my notes here, what divides us are battles between the stories that inhabit or possess us. So he would say that Cain is an embodiment of stories or beliefs in a person, in a story, acted out. And he would say the same about Abel. So if you don't know the story of Cain and Abel, there are 2 brothers. They both offer sacrifices to God. Abel's pleases God, and Cain's does not. And Cain gets very resentful because of that. And so Jordan Peterson talks about how it's interesting how after the curse of Adam and Eve, where they're cursed among a number of other things to work, that sacrifice comes in, right? Because in a way, work is sacrifice. It's sacrificing the present moment in the pursuit of like something greater on in the future. And so these sacrifices offered by Cain and Abel, the idea is that Abel offers the first fruits. He offers the best. Cain does not. And how Jordan Peterson sees that psychologically is that the person who offers the best, the person who goes forth in life giving their all and sacrificing the most effort and time, they're the ones who the divine hand of God, so to speak, is going to shine upon. They're the ones who are going to see fruit from their actions. But Cain doesn't give the best sacrifices. He doesn't give it his all. And his encounters with God really actually very much irritate him. And I'm going to play another clip of Jordan Peterson talking because this applies to our story as well. And we're going to go into Harry Potter.
Concept, this concept of phenomena. That's why they're phenomenologists. Phanesthai means to shine forth. From the phenomenological perspective, you pursue those things that shine forth. Now, you remember, this is kind of a parallel idea. I suppose it's a parallel of Jungian ideas. You remember in Harry Potter that when they're playing Quidditch, he's always chasing the snitch? And you remember how, if I've got this correctly, Quidditch is basically two games at the same time, right? There's the standard game and then there's the game that the Seekers play. Yes? I've got that right? What happens if the Seeker gets the snitch? Game's over, right? They win. Very interesting. It's brilliant. She has a brilliant imagination, that woman, Rowling. So the idea is that in every game there's two games going on at the same time. There's the ordinary game and there's the game that the Seekers play, and the Seekers chase the thing that shines at them. And that's what that little thing is, the snitch. It's a round circle with wings. It's a very, very old symbol. It's a symbol of what? It's a symbol of reality before it's fractionated into its parts. I don't know how to say it any more clearly than that. It's a symbol of...
Okay, and that's interesting because Jordan Peterson then talks about how like the Holy Spirit can be a sort of a snitch. There's this burning bush language that Jordan Peterson uses, and a burning bush or a revelation, an encounter with God, is anything that not only attracts our attention, but something that also bugs us. And so Jordan Peterson, actually, I went to his We Who Wrestle with God tour, and he says it's no coincidence that Jiminy Cricket and Jesus Christ have the same name, right? You say, something bugs me, something got under my skin, something upset me. And that is very much Cain's experience with God, right? God attracts his attention. He is to offer his best sacrifices, but his encounters with God bug him. They leave a mark on him. So when we say like something, that person really gets under my skin, it's like it bugs you in a very real way. And the snitch represents that, right? Because we're playing two games at the same time. We're going through life, but we're also called to put in our everyday sacrifices, and we're called to pursue something greater. And Cain's refusal to sort of submit to God in a way makes him a slave. So you could, on the one hand, say that Abel's a slave because he strives to please God, right? And you could, in another sense, say that Cain is a slave because he's enslaved to his own passions, his own desires. His desire, for example, for revenge almost possesses and enslaves him, and he kills his brother. And Jordan Peterson says that when Cain does that, he murders his own ideal. And after that, he collapses as a person because he killed the one thing that he's supposed to be. And so when you despise God, in a way, you kill the one thing you're supposed to be. You kill this representation of what you're supposed to be like. You're left with nothing. And so Cain becomes a wanderer in the land of Nod. Cain moves from place to place because not only can he never seek rest, but Jordan Peterson talks about people who operate like that in the spirit of Cain don't stay around for long because the people kind of, figure them out quickly. They figure out this isn't a person who gives his all. This is a person who gets resentful for the logos or God or the universe expecting more from them. And so Cain ultimately is a representation of failure. He's a representation of something that we're not supposed to be. And I'm going to touch on this more. I know this was a shorter video. I'm going to have part 2 coming for you within the week. I have a lot of other stuff coming. If you do enjoy this type of content, please do like and subscribe. I will strive to push it out on at least a weekly basis. But part 2 of We Who Wrestle with God is going to be cut a little short today. I'm going to be putting out another video on part 2. So, hope you enjoyed. Thanks, and I will see you guys around.